They say Rome was built by the hands of men, but guided by something older, darker, and far more ancient than stone or sword. Empires rise on ambition, but they survive only when destiny favors them. And destiny, as the Romans believed, could be read, if one dared, to open the right book. Long before Rome spanned continents, before emperors commanded legions and marble temples glowed under Mediterranean sun, a traveler appeared at the city's gates. She was no merchant, no pilgrim, no wandering beggar. She was a shadow wrapped in old skin, a hooded figure whose presence made even the most hardened guards step back without knowing why. Her name was never spoken clearly. Some whispered she was the Sibyl of Cumae, a prophetess older than memory itself, a woman who conversed with gods through the smoke of strange fires. Others murmured she was not a woman at all, but an apparition summoned from the underworld. Yet all agreed on one thing. She carried something inside the folds of her cloak, something Rome had never seen. 9 books. Not books as mortals write them, but volumes etched with symbols that moved when light touched them, pages smelling of burnt cedar and storms, ink that refused to fade even in fire. These, she claimed, were the Sibylline Books, prophecies written under divine command, containing the fate of nations and the doom of kings. She demanded an audience with the king, Tarquinius Superbus, the last monarch of Rome. The king, proud and suspicious, summoned her into his presence. Inside the dim hall of the Palatine, her eyes glowed like 2 embers beneath the hood. "I offer you 9 books," she said, "and within them, Rome will find its survival or its destruction. They tell of plagues, wars, omens, miracles, and the shadows of centuries yet unborn. Their price is high, for knowledge of fate demands a heavy cost." Tarquinius laughed, thinking her mad. The price she named was ridiculous, wealth enough to outfit an army. "Old woman," he spat, "take your riddles elsewhere." The Sibyl did not argue. She simply stepped back, opened 3 of the books, and cast them into the fire that burned beside the throne. The flames turned white-hot, roaring like a beast awakening. The books did not shrivel or crack. They vanished, consumed by a blaze that left no ash behind. The king froze. "6 books remain," she said, voice unchanged. "Their price is the same." Tarquinius felt a thin thread of unease slip around his heart. But arrogance drowned fear, and he refused again. Without a word, the Sibyl opened 3 more books and dropped them into the fire. The flames rose higher, shaking the walls. The guards trembled. The king's advisors exchanged terrified glances, whispering prayers to gods they barely believed in. Only 3 books remained. "This is your last chance," she said. "Their price has not changed. Accept them, and Rome may live. Reject them, and Rome will walk blind into its future." Tarquinius felt the room grow colder, as though the Sibyl had dragged winter itself into the palace. He understood then, finally, that he was not bargaining with a mortal. He was bargaining with destiny, and destiny does not negotiate. He paid the full price. The Sibyl handed him the remaining 3 volumes. Then she walked out of the palace and out of Rome entirely. Some claimed she dissolved into mist the moment she left the gates. Others swore a wolf followed her into the forest, as if escorting a queen of shadows back to her throne. No one ever saw her again. From that day forward, the Sibylline Books became the most sacred objects in Rome, more important than any treasure, more feared than any weapon. They were sealed in the temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill, guarded by priests who swore oaths not to king or senate, but to the fate of the empire itself. The books could only be opened in times of absolute crisis, when plague blackened the streets, when the Tiber rose in fury, when comets tore across the sky, when war threatened Rome's very heart. Each time a crisis struck, the priests would enter the chamber, open the books, and return with instructions, rituals to perform, gods to appease, sacrifices to make, warnings to heed. And each time, Rome survived. Citizens believed that the books whispered the will of the gods, and the gods, for a time, favored Rome. But with secrets comes danger. Ambitious men sought to corrupt the books. Others plotted to steal them. Many feared what would happen if they were ever lost, whether Rome's destiny would unravel like threads slipping from a loom. For centuries, the books remained untouched by time. Then came the fire. In 83 BC, A blaze consumed the temple of Jupiter. The night sky turned crimson, and sparks rained like burning stars upon the city. Priests rushed into the inferno, but the heat was impossible. The books, those last remnants of divine prophecy, were lost. Their pages curled, their ink hissed, their secrets vanished. When the flames died, Rome found itself suddenly, terrifyingly blind. Without the Sibylline Books, the city stumbled into chaos. Civil wars erupted. Plagues spread. Dictators rose and fell. Romans whispered that the gods had abandoned them, that the Sibyl's warning had finally come true. The empire had rejected 6 books of prophecy, and now the last 3 were gone forever. Later generations tried to recreate the oracles. They gathered scraps, fragments, foreign prophecies, but none carried the weight of the originals. None bore the strange glow of the Sibyl's touch. None held the voice of destiny. The empire survived for centuries more, but something subtle had shifted. Rome no longer walked with the confidence of a chosen city. Instead, it staggered under the weight of an uncertain future, a giant blinded by the loss of the only eyes that could see what lay ahead. To this day, historians argue whether the Sibyl was a myth, a priestess, a witch, or something even older. But one truth remains unshaken: Rome believed in the books. Rome obeyed the books. And when the books vanished, Rome's golden age dimmed. What knowledge was erased when the flames consumed those pages? What warnings, what visions, what unspoken catastrophes were locked inside the prophecies Rome lost forever? Perhaps no mortal will ever know. But somewhere, beyond the reach of history, memory, and time, the figure of an old woman walks through shadowed forests, holding books that burn with light no fire can extinguish. And if the stories are true, she waits for the moment humanity needs her once again to offer a choice, a terrible price, or a glimpse into the future. And once more, the fire will decide.